Good morning. How's everybody?
We are all hanging wonderfully and feeling good.
That's good.
So Tosh, okay, the spot went away. Great, thanks.
And the live stream is working.
Okay, thank you.
We are live.
So we are live. Great. And I'm admitting everyone, admitting all. Appreciate y'all being here. I guess I better let him in. We have this set up, to let folks in. And sometimes it's not, it's not clear. So I hope everybody's doing well. Happy almost holiday season.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, Sioma. Sorry, I'm running late.
I think we're good. It's 9:31, and we can
Wait a little bit.
wait a couple minutes and make sure. In terms of the meeting today, we heard from most folks, and we believe we will be great for having a quorum. And even though we're close to the holiday season, we had great responses for attendance. So
Nice. All right. I know. Yes, I know. Ready to shut it down soon.
okay. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We only need 2 more for our quorum.
Okay, let me know.
I will.
I know eventually, Linda, I know we probably as a committee, we should talk about when and if we want to come back in person.
Ooh.
I mean, some of us some of us can't even think that far because we're like, we just go back to back to back. We don't even want to like leave.
I know.
So
yes. Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've had great participation virtually. But I know that connection is so important.
Yeah. But I'm not trying to rush it, but I know I want to at least put it out there just in case.
Yes. Maybe in particular we can think about the spring.
Yeah, when it's warmer. Yeah.
And not knowing what will happen with COVID in the winter, maybe. But we can see what people prefer.
That's right. We could, that's right. We could put that up. Yes, exactly. Yes, I agree.
Our January meeting is going to be very, very dense. I'll just put that out there in terms of we hope to have really our data really ready and in place. So that meeting will be very dense. And so perhaps the spring would allow us for more opportunity for that social connection, possibly. Okay, I think we only need 1 more person and we will be with our quorum. But it's up to you, Elma. We can get started whenever you're ready, since we're not needing to vote right away.
Yeah, we could always hold off the meeting votes, notes, the minutes
if we need to.
We get in. But okay, great. Well, good morning, everybody. Of course, so glad to see you all virtually. And Linda and I were just talking about it'd be wonderful to one day to be in person. Not now when it's like getting to be colder, but hopefully in the near future in 2023. Again, for those who don't know me, I am Ioma Iruka, and I'm glad to be the chair of the Durham PreK Governance Committee. For now, I'll welcome everybody here. Do you want to go to the next slide, please? So, of course, as usual, per usual, for those who have been here for a little bit, Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box, please. Your name, your agency, organization, or program, where applicable, your title or role, and anything that might be helpful for the group to know. And I will flag, and maybe that's the next slide because I don't have all my slides up. We will venture, obviously, from the agenda, we'll recognize some new members to our group momentarily.
Yes, and we have a quorum now, Iama.
Awesome. Okay, good. Perfect. Well, welcome. So I want to make sure I take a moment to welcome some new governance committee members. We are joined by 2 voting members nominated for their leadership in Durham. Joy Spencer and Kate Goodwin are here today for their first meeting. Yay, welcome. They have had an opportunity to meet for a broad orientation and onboard into our committee's mission and activities. And so first, I would love to welcome Joy Spencer, who is the Executive Director of Equity Before Birth. Welcome, Joy. Just to give you a little bit of a snapshot about Joy, Joy is a mom of a 4-year-old who's currently enrolled in Durham PreK program. Early education is extremely important to her and a current priority in her household, obviously. She's also a community advocate who prioritizes authentic community engagement and racial equity. She works with families daily in many capacities and has extreme passion for enhancing the ability for all families to thrive. Education, she says, can be a bridge that opens many opportunities. So that is Joy. Welcome. And should we give a moment to say hello? Joy, you want to say hello?
I think we should, yes.
Yes. Joy, where are you? Could we spotlight?
I'm fine. Hey.
Hello, welcome. You want to say anything?
Good morning. I'm here, and really this will be a big learning opportunity for me, kind of like a lens into the other side of how Durham PreK works, and I appreciate the opportunity.
So glad you're here. Thank you for being here with us. And next is, as she goes Kazia, but Kate, she goes by Kate Goodwin. She is a single mom of 3 and a grandmother of 2. You can't tell by looking at her. Hey, Kate. She's an entrepreneur, advocate, and 34-year veteran in early childhood education, operations, and management. Kate has served as a company leader for the YMCA, Head Start, and Kinder Care education. She leverages her decades of leadership experience in early childhood education, along with her entrepreneurial spirit, to create a new model that builds access to equitable learning experiences powered by the strength of the community. Her passionate advocacy for teachers to be compensated fairly and given the tools that prepare them for classroom are key to ensuring this model of early education and care is successful. So Kate is the founder and president of Truth Educational Foundation, a nonprofit research and development organization that focuses on educational justice, as well as the owner of Kate's Corner Education Service and Kate's Corner Learning Center. We are so thrilled to have you here, Kate. Do you want to unmute, or if you're able to, video and say hello to the people?
I will unmute and take the video on. Good morning, you all. I am calling you all from California, so it's a bit early here this morning, but just trying to get my appointment. I'm just so excited to be a part of the governance committee. It is something that once I heard the work you all were doing, it aligned with the mission that I have in life and my purpose to create space and to be able to rethink about the things that are needed in early childhood to make there to be a end success story for all. So I'm grateful to be in Durham, love the city, came here in 2018 and stayed for great reasons. So thank you for having me on the committee. I'm excited to be a part.
So glad you are here. Thank you so much. And thanks for on video and safe travels back to Durham whenever that time comes.
Yes, thank you.
All right, and then for me, and last but not least, in terms of my introduction, before I hand it over to Linda, we are also joined by the new president of CCSA, the Child Care Services Association, Dr. Christy Snuggs. Hello, Christy, welcome as a resource member to this team. She joins us from her tenure as Assistant Director of the NC Division of Child Development and EE and Early Education. I was like literally doing the words in the DCDE, sorry. The NC Division of Child Development and Early Education. She's enjoying her third week at the helm of CCSA in many ways. And so just let me read a couple of things about Dr. Snuggs before she says a little bit of welcome. So Dr. Snuggs is obviously the president of CCSA. She began her career in 1994 with the NC Community College System, where she served as the early child instructor, department chair, and director of the college's Child Development Center lab. In 2001, Dr. Snuggs became an educational consultant with the North Carolina Community College System office. Dr. Snuggs has held progressively higher leadership positions, served as the VP of Instruction, Chief Academic Officer with Edgecombe Community College, the Child Development Division Director of NEED Incorporated. She joined the Division of Child Development and Early Education in January of 2018 as the Deputy Director. Dr. Snuggs received her doctorate degree in educational leadership from East Carolina University in Greenville and her master's in child and family development and bachelor's degrees from Appalachian State University in Boone. Dr. Snuggs is married to Philip and has two daughters, Kaylee and Kesley. So would you like to say any few words, Dr. Snuggs?
Thank you. Wow, that sounds so amazing when you say that. I'm just crazy. But thank you all for being here and being willing to serve as members of the Governance Council for the Durham PreK. We are so excited that you have a passion just like I do for young children. And I am so excited to be here in this role and to be supportive. And I love my first 3 weeks on my new job. And so thank you, Iama, for today. And I look forward to learning.
Absolutely. And I was actually had the luxury of seeing Dr. Snuggs over there at Pinehurst for the NCCRC summit. So wonderful. And also saw Linda, of course, and many others. So welcome. So now I'm going to actually turn it over to Linda to welcome some other Durham PreK team members. So Linda, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that. And I do, before I talk and introduce you to our team, I want to just mention that we did have the opportunity to do an orientation session with Joy and Kate, and we will do one with Christy as soon as she gets a moment in her whirlwind of orientation to CCSA's work. But it was just delightful to have the opportunity to orient them to the work of governance and to share all the good things that our governance committee has done in the last few years. And I think that, the power of our community is really reflected in your commitment in serving on this committee. I just think that it makes such a huge impact, and I can't express enough how helpful it is to the team to know that this committee supports their work. And it's really impactful to know that this group is really so invested. So it's just very helpful. So we know our new members will teach us a lot, and we'll look forward to it. If you'll recall, those of you who've been in our meetings, you know that the last few meetings we've been rotating, having some of our team members come to be introduced and to share with you. And we're doing that with CCSA staff as well as our partner staff. We're rotating. Today's group, I'm welcoming Durham PreK team members from really kind of the what I would say the data and financial and customer service core of our program. I'll introduce you to Joy Turner, who's here today. You've seen her before at some of our meetings. She helps us so much to deeply examine all of our data, as well as to really, I've been joking lately saying that she's turning into my right hand in terms of being able to really deeply explore and examine what the data tell us about our program. And she's the director of data and provider relations. And I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce a couple of her team members and to talk about what they do in support of Durham PreK. Joy?
Thanks, Linda. And thanks for having us. It's always good to see you all. And get to share the good work that Durham PreK is going on with Durham PreK. I'm glad to introduce to you Catherine Brandt, who's our provider supplements and data manager. She's been with CCSA. It'll be 2 years in the spring, in the early spring. So we are excited to introduce you to her, and also Rachel Osborne, who's our provider supplements and data coordinator, who has just been here with us since August after graduating from the social work program, MSW program at UNC. So we're grateful to have her on board. She did an internship with CCSA back in last year in her graduate program, and we were able to snatch her up and get her on staff full time. So we're excited about that. So Catherine and Rachel work with a couple of different things with Durham PreK, primarily with our teacher compensation support payment, which is a payment we make to help offset the cost of paying teachers at the Durham Public Schools salary scale. And so they collect all the paperwork to confirm teachers' eligibility, make sure that collect pay stub documentation to confirm that teachers are being paid at the correct amount, and then process those payments that go to the providers to help offset that amount. And they also, in the spring, work with our evaluation process, where we survey all the Durham PreK parents to find out what's going well with the program, what could we improve, and also some kind of outcome questions about, is your child more prepared for kindergarten, those kinds of things. And so they're work with a team of temporary staff who make calls to families and then analyze those results. And then throughout the year, different projects come up where we, like Linda said, where we're looking at the data, and they will help me look at different things. They are our spreadsheet and database experts, and I'm really excited to have them on board. I know some people don't like spreadsheets and databases. The three of us love it and are happy with our roles in providing that service for Durham PreK. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I really can't emphasize enough how that particular skill set is so beneficial in informing our decision making around program needs, where we have barriers and where are our gaps. And it's just great to have such a really strong group working in that arena. And as I said, you'll recall we've been rotating. So now so far you've met some of the TA, the quality improvement staff, technical assistance, quality improvement staff. You've met them. You've met some of the family support team members in previous meetings. Our next meeting in January, you'll have the opportunity to meet many team members from Durham's Partnership for Children that are supporting the pre-K program. And then we'll rotate, and we'll also meet folks from our Head Start partners as well as from our public school partners. So we really just wanted you to have a chance on a rotating basis to know that this program is being supported in a strong way by so many great team members. Thanks, Joy. And thank you, Catherine and Rachel, for being here.
So welcome.
Okay.
Do you want to go ahead and do this?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. We obviously, these are very straightforward, and we've been using these for quite a while now that we've been meeting virtually. And the main thing is, sometimes people do have to leave early, and we appreciate just if you'll put that in the chat so that we can just be aware. We appreciate it. And I will remind everybody that we are live streaming on YouTube, our meeting. And after the meeting, we do edit out any empty spaces on the video, but we post the videos for the public. But we are live streaming, so you can go to the next slide. Okay, so today we are going to need to approve our notes from the September meeting, but that's our only voting activity today. We really wanted to allow time for some discussion today. We're going to do some program updates, and we're going to review our new apprenticeship pilot opportunity with you. And then we're going, after the break, we're going to go into breakout sessions for to get your input regarding 2 areas of upcoming activities that the team are going to be working on, because it's really important that we get your feedback. I know there's a couple folks that have to leave early, and we appreciate the fact that you've joined us today. And what we'll do is we will, in the notes from today's meeting, we'll make sure and capture the priorities that the discussion groups identify for those upcoming events. Next slide.
Okay, so now we want to review the notes from September, our last meeting. And so everybody should have seen a copy of the notes. Please let us know if you did not get a copy of the minutes from our last meeting. And so with that, I would love to open it up for a motion to approve September's minutes.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Sharon. Second, thank you. Any questions or concerns? Okay, rather than asking for all the yays, is there any nays? Oh, sorry, Derek, were you, hold on, I think, Derek, were you, let me make sure.
No, I didn't have anything. It's just ADHD. I haven't had enough coffee yet.
Oh, yeah, but no, I saw you, so I just want to make sure in case I because I
The
just
question is, Derek, the question is there enough coffee available in the world for those of us who need it?
And the answer would be no.
No, okay, you pour coffee for this. I'm sorry. But no problem at all. Okay, so any nays? So if there's nays, go ahead and use your reaction button, which is from your right, the third button from your right at the bottom. If there's any nays, you can press the X button as a no, or just also unmute and let me know if there's any nays. I figured it's maybe easier to do that. So I'm gonna look just to see if there's any nays. All right, it looks like the motion has passed. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so it's always great to start a meeting with positives. And besides the positive that you all made it today, I want to update you. You'll recall from our last meeting that we spent quite a bit of time discussing and reviewing our payment protocols for our pre-K classrooms. And you'll recall that this body voted to ask the Durham County Commissioners to consider allocating additional funds to Durham PreK for the purpose of really trying to mitigate the impact of the pandemic on our early education programs. We know that programs are still really trying to get through these difficult times. And the way that the program is set up, we pay on enrollment and attendance typically. And that, obviously that makes sense. You want to pay for service to children. But during the pandemic, the Division of Child Development and Early Education responded to the crisis of the pandemic by shifting and paying providers for NC PreK on what we call allocation. So the seat allocations were the way that providers received payment. And this group, governance, voted during that time to do the same. So Durham PreK aligned with the division, and during the height of the pandemic period, we paid providers on their allocation. So no matter what their enrollment was during those really grim times, they could count on and budget for what their payments would be based upon their allocation. For the current school year, you'll recall at our last meeting, we talked deeply about how that was changing, and the process was going back to paying on enrollment and attendance. But at the last minute after school started, DCDEE responded to the very real need statewide that providers have around enrollment, because in some parts of the state enrollment was low this year in NC PreK, and they decided to pay for 3 months as a stopgap measure, they decided to pay this year for 3 months on allocation. And we had not budgeted for that in Durham PreK, and so we brought that to you. And you'll recall that you voted to recommend that we try to get some additional resources in order to pay that same way. But what you did is you went a step further and you voted to ask for the funds for the rest of the school year to pay on allocation for Durham PreK seats for the rest of the school year. Tosh, you can go to the next slide. So basically we did not budget for that and we had to have more money. And I'm just so excited and thrilled to say that from your advocacy and recommendation to the county commissioners, and with the support of Dr. Sowell, our county manager, and the staff at the county, that was approved. The county, I mean, I just can't even say enough good things, because this is really, I don't want to say it's unheard of, because this is what we should be doing for children in our society when needs are so huge, but it doesn't happen. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And to get money in the middle of the year, it's a really emotional experience, and it's been fabulous. And we did inform you of that over email once it happened, but we wanted to revisit it and celebrate and say that it is administratively challenging for the team once DCD's no longer paying on allocation, which is coming up right now. They're beginning to go back to paying on attendance. It's a little bit challenging for us to pay differently. However, it's totally worth it, and we'll make that work for the rest of the year, because it's how we know that our providers need that support. And so we did go back and pay them by allocation after the money was approved by the county, because we did have to do back pay because of the timing. But now moving forward, the rest of the year, our Durham PreK seats will get paid on allocation. And the good thing for us as advocates for children is that our priority, of course, is to serve children and not be paying on empty seats. And the positive is that we don't have that many empty seats in Durham. And so the reality is that throughout the year, vacancies happen. It's a very dynamic environment where some families are in and out, unfortunately, and there is a churn during the school year. And so vacancy rates kind of pop up and down. And this way, our providers who are allocated Durham PreK seats, they will know for the rest of the year what their payments will look like, and that will hopefully relieve some of the anxiety and stress that they've been experiencing through these difficult times. Anybody have any questions about that?
I mean, I think we should just take a moment, like, I think just a pause on this particular slide, and just to, I think, really recognize what it took for this body to vote for something that we don't know what was going to happen, right? But we committed to the values of saying that we want to support and stabilize the workforce owners, and obviously hearing really clearly from the provider community that, we need this to happen. And then obviously for the commission to hear that and to then respond, so I think these are some of the wins that we have to remember, as we know there may be some that may not be wins, but these are things we have to remember, that we have to continue to push forward, right? Again, regardless of what was going to happen on the commission side. So I think just to really applaud each and every one of you for, to me, a vote that we thought was really important, and for the provider community being really clear and honest and pushing us to make sure that we are committed to what our vision is for this committee and DPK writ large. So really, anybody will have a comment or thoughts, I think just a couple of minutes, I think would be great.
I have a really quick comment, just because the county is also partners with me and were amazing during the distance learning time. I feel like our county manager and definitely our chair are so committed to children in ways that we are blessed to have them in the position that they're in. But I feel like this is the beginning. I think we are showing up and asking, in the boldness in that, the spirit of that needs to continue, because the country's obviously seeing the importance of early childhood experiences, but also the funding needs so that parents don't have to have, offset options. So I applaud the boldness in the ask. I celebrate the collaboration and the agreement that the county had, and I'm grateful to see it come to fruition. So it's awesome.
Yeah, this is Sharon, and Kate, I just want to add to that. I think it's a lesson that if you don't ask, you won't receive, and go for all that you need and ask for it. But I'm also wondering if you all think it would be really helpful if each of us sent a thank you note to members of the county commissioners. I think that's super important. They don't always get thanks, and if they get positive reinforcement for this, that can only continue. So I just really wanted to encourage everyone to do that.
I want to second Karen's suggestion. I think that's really important. Elected officials usually only hear from people when they need something. So I think we know we're going to be asking again in the future. Let's grease the skids.
Yeah, I agree. And Linda, you
express
mentioned
genuine gratefulness.
I agree. And Linda, you did mention that. I forgot when. And so, yeah, we definitely should all each send a thank you for this. And Linda, we can also share the email contact information. So everybody has it, ready to go. That'd be great.
Yeah, we'll send it out again. And I know that when this passed, we did also really ask the provider community to not forget about the thank yous, and they have also they have sent something to the collective of the county commissioners in thanks. I just I've been in Durham a long time, and Durham's great community, but I'm not aware too often of a middle of the year, the middle of the fiscal year to be able to make an allocation is just something that I haven't experienced except for when there was a dire emergency. I mean, this is urgent and very important because we have to support our early education system, but there are so many competing needs, and I think we all, we stay aware of that. You'll recall that our Durham PreK budget is based, the way we make our seat allocations is based on braided funding. And so we are always estimating based on our resources how many seats we can actually allocate. And of course, our goal, and we stay true to this, our goal is always to spend our local funding last because we want to pull down resources to our community from other places. And we build a vacancy rate into our projections. And I do think from your guidance in the past, seat growth has been priority in order to meet our commitment to the community, the goal of being able to serve at some point in the community 75% of the 4-year-old census. This decision to pay on allocation has direct implications. Tasha, if you'll go to the next slide, has direct implications around our seat growth. And that you remember this slide from our last meeting. I just put it in here because I want to put it front and center in your minds as we think about the new year in 2023. In our January meeting, one of the things we will dive into is what should our processes be moving forward in the future, and where should we be prioritizing, and how do we want to allocate. And so it was just a fantastic blessing to get additional resources this year in support of our providers. But as we plan for the future, this is something that we'll need to really analyze what the needs are versus what our practices are for budgeting and spending. So I think it's just something that this balance between how many seats we can appropriately plan to pay for and the unexpected needs. So this is the third fiscal year, the third school year that we've had unexpected changes in needs. And, it is somewhat nerve wracking, but now we have a lot of learning that we have experienced around how to budget. And we're hopeful that that will inform us as we really assess and evaluate our policies in the future. So, but the other thing I wanted to just mention and give a big old shout out to you guys as a governance committee, and can't say enough, is I was reflecting upon this body of work and realized that from the beginning of Durham PreK and the beginning of this committee, you should give yourself a giant pat on the back that every single thing that you have recommended, any votes you make are recommendations that we take, to the elected officials around this program. Everything you've recommended has been accepted and approved by the county commission to date. And that really speaks to, that just really speaks to how much respect you have gained from those elected officials. Okay. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Hardy. Good to see you. We were just celebrating the additional resources that the county gave in order for us to pay providers this year on allocation versus attendance. So, all right, so we're going to hear some highlights from the program. I'm going to ask Monty to talk with you about the program updates, and the in your packet that you got, the PDF was it's on page 22 in that PDF packet, but you did receive it separately. And as you are hearing from Monty some of the highlights from the program, we would love to know from you for the future. We do these updates, and the updates are structured around our scope of work with the county. You may have wondered, how we make categories on the updates and stuff, but they're structured around our scope of work. But there may be things you want to hear about that we haven't been letting you know, that we haven't been reporting to you. And you may not know that every month we submit a report, an activity report, to the county team, to the county manager and to the early childhood coordinator for the county, Kate Elander. We submit a monthly update, and that monthly update is a compilation of all the activities from not only the CCSA team, but also the team from Durham's Partnership for Children and the partner groups. So that monthly activity report is very detailed and is available to you if anybody ever wants to see it. We do submit it to the county every month. But for the for these updates, if there's any information you'd like to see in the future, certainly please let us know, because we want to give you what you need to feel like you're really informed about the program. Monty, you want to hit the highlights?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. So this is one of my favorite things is reviewing the successes and the things that are happening and the outreach that is taking place in our community. All these details are in your packet for the program update, but wanted to point out a few things. First, wanted to celebrate that right now we're at 88% enrolled for Durham PreK seats, which is really great. We several of us spent some time at a state-wide meeting the past couple of days, and in conversations with other communities and around enrollment. We're really celebrating. We're at this percent, although we are continuing to enroll families, and our goal is always 100%. We want to get every seat filled. Right now we've accepted 1,850 applications through our online application system. There's a breakdown of where those applications are in the update. 976 families have accepted placements. And we continue to enroll families, and we have active applications right now that we're working through to get families placed into these vacant seats. I will note that in the breakdown, you'll see that there's 170 families on the wait list, and you may ask, wait a minute, why are there families on a wait list if we still have openings? These families have selected to be on the wait list. Most of the time it's because they want a specific site, and that site is full. And so they choose to be on the wait list until there's an opening at a particular site. So wanted to point that out because I know that can throw you off when you're looking at, oh, we have open seats, but there's 170 on the wait list. Our family support department continues to have a high volume of contact with families as they work through these processes to enroll. In October, they had 878 contacts with families, helping them and assisting them through the application process, answering questions. And so our family support department really does a great job with connecting with families. Even though it's an online system, there's someone that they can talk to live. And we also will schedule meetings and appointments with them if they want to come in and receive support in completing their application. So we want to make sure that we are giving families every opportunity to get support and help and contact to enroll in the program. This year, we started a texting platform. And so with this texting platform, we wanted to increase our communications with families and also the community, those that are interested in getting updates and receiving information about Durham Pre-K. And we currently have 705 subscribers. This is a 44% increase since June. So we continue to see this be a valuable resource to family and community members. Our outreach committee, we have an outreach committee that's made up of staff members from and community members from all of our partnering agencies. And so they have been hard at work. In the month of October, they attended several community events from a story walk at Durham Tech to a resource fair that was sponsored by the PTA. They were at events held at the Durham Rescue Mission, just a wide range of events. They do a weekly table at Duke Pediatrics so that they can connect with families on a regular basis. And also our outreach committee has been working on finding ways to connect the business community to Durham Pre-K. And so they've been working hard to create a business toolkit that we're looking to launch very soon as we look at going into, hard to say, going into the 2023-24 application cycle for that school year. It's, wow, time just flies, and we're already looking ahead for the next application for the next school year. This business toolkit, we're actually going to have an opportunity to talk about it in our small groups because we want to get your input on it. A couple of things about it is it will provide different levels for businesses in our area to connect to Durham Pre-K, from simply just putting up rack cards, posters, and to making greater contributions. For example, posting stuff about Durham Pre-K on their social media, making some financial donations to support outreach events, and a lot more. We have levels that go from platinum to bronze, and of course the higher platinum level, you're hosting a Durham Pre-K night. You're making a significant donation, and in return, we're going to recognize that. We're going to thank you on our social media. We're going to uh, include you in our newsletters to recognize that you're supporting the Durham Pre-K initiative in the families in our community. So we'll be getting you more information about this, but later on when we go into group discussions, we will be talking about, we want to hear from you about for the donation levels, where should we start? Should we start out small, or should we dream big and start out with including larger donations in the higher level? So we want to get your feedback on that. But just a way to connect the business community and expand our reach and information to families. Our social media, our website, our newsletters continue to get great traffic. I'm always amazed at when we get the analytics of our high percentage of click rates compared to national averages. The subscribers we have, right now we have over 2,500 subscribers to our newsletters. And our website continues to get lots of views and clicks. So all that information is included in your update that you can look over. We continue our work with providers who are part of Durham Pre-K. We have added this year, providers we always meet with them on a monthly basis with directors. This year we've provided a leadership series that we've connected to the directors meetings. So they come and get information, but then we want to make sure that these meetings have an opportunity for them to learn and grow and to connect with their peers, to talk about the challenges and to get strategies on how best to work with their families and with their teachers. Right now, a big issue, of course, is staffing. So talking about issues with them about how to support them as they're looking for teachers in some of our classrooms. So we want to make sure that we are valuing their time when they come to meet with us and take that opportunity to provide them with some professional development while they're there. We continue to work with our capacity building, which is working with programs that aren't currently part of Durham Pre-K, but are striving to be part of Durham Pre-K, helping them build capacity and quality to be able to apply to be an active Durham Pre-K site. Right now, we're working with 5 classrooms, and we will be recruiting more. We're in the process of recruiting more. We'll be working with up to 12 classrooms this year for our capacity build. We're going to talk a little bit more about system development and an apprenticeship program that we're working on, but all these details you can find in your program update, and we're really excited about the work that's taking place with families and with providers and with the community. So thank you.
Thanks, Monty. I do hope that as you're considering your needs for information, and sometimes, you don't know what you don't know. So obviously one strategy we thought about was we would potentially send you, for example, 1 month's activity report that we send to the county, and you would be able to see the kinds of things that are going on. And from that might spur you to have some questions or some update information. It's very detailed and dense, and something that I would be surprised if you wanted all the time, but it would give you an idea about the breadth of things going on and the activities across different partners, and might give you some insight into what's available to you as a governance member for information about the program. So we can certainly send that. I'm always cautious about sending you guys too many emails, but we don't want to hoard our info. So we're an open book, anything that you're interested in.
One thing I'll note is this is joint work with all of the collaborative partners. So the work with the families, the work with the providers, the outreach work, it's all based on the efforts of team members from Durham's Partnership, the school system, Head Start, and CCSA. So it's a real collaborative effort to do this work.
Okay. So thanks for the update. We're going to talk about the apprenticeship opportunity and program, but before we get into that, any questions or any thoughts about information you're interested in hearing from us? Okay, I'm going to take it as a compliment that you feel really informed. So, okay, so we had this on our agenda for our last meeting, and we had such great conversation and work around the payments for programs that we deferred this part of our agenda. We're very, very excited to share with you that one of our goals in Durham PreK is to pursue every opportunity for resources that will enrich the program from funds outside of Durham County government, and really work hard to identify needs and to figure out what are the types of supports that might help our workforce in Durham PreK, as well as really focus us on the instructional quality of the program. And we're very excited to say that CCSA received a private anonymous donation to support a pilot apprenticeship program. Apprenticeships you'll hear about everywhere. They are certainly a hot topic in North Carolina in particular. At this time, there's a lot of different initiatives going on around apprenticeships. And it's one tool, it's one strategy for trying to create a really robust pipeline of folks who are interested and want to pursue early education as a potential career. The pilot is a partnership. So what will happen is that CCSA will partner with Durham PreK as a program to link the apprenticeship model to early childhood educators at Durham PreK sites. So supporting a particular preschool initiative, this is the first partnership of its kind in North Carolina around apprenticeship, and the plan is for it to really provide valuable information for communities considering universal pre-kindergarten programs. But this particular initiative will have a program in Durham and in Charlotte. In Charlotte, CCSA will work with the Charlotte Bilingual Preschool, which is a childcare program that helps prepare children for whom Spanish is their first language for success in school and life by providing dual language, multicultural early childhood education. The partnership will allow CCSA to help develop really this cohort of educated, well compensated, and skilled Spanish-speaking early childhood educators for whom there is just an incredible need in North Carolina. And you'll recall that our quality subcommittee in developing the equity plan for Durham PreK identified this as a need in our program also. And so we're really excited that this program has an opportunity to learn from the work they're doing in Charlotte also, because it's there'll be a lot of opportunity for shared professional development and learning. The apprenticeship model will provide not only on-the-job training, but will include a job site mentor. And so what will happen is that early educators, early in their careers, folks who are still pursuing their education will be linked to the Teach Early Childhood Scholarship for paying their tuition. But one piece of that this program will provide is a job site mentor. And, in the Teach Scholarship program, support specialists help participants balance the demands of work, family, and education to stay on track for their program completion. But the teach specialists are not in the childcare agencies, and they don't provide work-related instruction. The goal for the apprenticeship program is to support those apprentices by providing that extra mentoring. And this donation and this pilot will allow us the opportunity to pursue that for the next year. Now, some folks would say, well, gosh, a year's not very long. It's not, it's a start. And we are working to identify ways that we'll be able to sustain activities in this project beyond that time. We're very optimistic about that because this initiative really works to leverage resources from several different places in order to do this program. The beauty of this for Durham PreK is that it completely aligns with our Durham PreK equity plan and our priority in our initiative and our scope of work to enhance and build out workforce supports. You know, we've had the Durham PreK Career Expo the last couple of years, and that was an overview information session in support of the workforce. This is like another step in our efforts to support the workforce, to build out and try to support those who want to pursue early education as a career. We will have 10 apprentices in Durham, and there'll be 2 mentors who will work directly with those apprentices. We will be hiring a workforce manager that will not only work to support the apprenticeship program, but will be working on sustainability of the program and will take on a variety of activities with our partners to look at the workforce needs. So we're pretty excited about this. And we also are really excited to be able to share with the county that we are meeting our goal to attract and work toward diversifying funding in support of Durham PreK. So I imagine there are questions, but I will just kind of summarize and say that the apprentices are in a paid position. They do get extra on the job training. They'll get related technical instruction. They will have a mentor, and they will earn all their credentials at no charge to them. So they will also receive all of the additional training that's needed. For example, if they need to pursue playground safety and some of the other mandatory trainings, they will be able to do that without any charge to them. And I think that our goal is that they will be fully ready and credentialed for future activities. So I think one thing to know is that all apprenticeship programs, they have 5 main components. That paid on the job part is really the big part of that. And then that technical instruction, mentorship, and development of credentials, that's a common theme with apprenticeship programs across fields. For us, what we really want to do is work hard to blend those opportunities, blend the components together to really support the earning of their degree and their credentials. So I see is asking about what level of evaluation there will be. There are some evaluation activities built into the project. And we're really looking forward to the learning that will happen, from that. I think the big thing is that our goal will be for them to attain and complete their degree and earn their credentials, and that will be only one measure that we want to follow as we're developing this out. It is a big project. It's easy to describe it in a kind of overview way, but in fact, the last couple of days, Ioma referred to the statewide conference and meeting we were at. There were a couple of sessions around apprenticeship that models that are going on across the state, and we're looking forward to learning from them also about what is working and what isn't around this idea of early childhood apprentices. We're really looking forward to partnering with Durham Tech, and we've had some initial conversation with Kathy. I know, Kathy, you're doing a lot of work in this arena. Do you feel like you would be willing to share with folks?
I don't think there's too much to share right now, other than that we're working on an apprenticeship model to start here for high school seniors and recent graduates in the summer. We're looking to get that started. And that we're just ready to help however we can to offer classes in whatever ways that really meets the needs for this program.
Thanks. Lee had a question in the chat. You want to?
Well, first I want to say I'm just so crazy about this. This is awesome. I think the most, I've learned it at DPS when they talked about teacher mentors at the K-12 level. At LEAP, I think the most powerful component of our program was our teacher mentorship there, and the on-the-job coaching and mentorship, I just think is critical. Through that experience, I also learned how heartbreaking it is when you put all this time, energy, love, hope into a person and they leave. And I assume that y'all have looked deep into these aspiring teachers' eyes and discerned their soul. Is there anything else that we can do to discern what the state of their commitment to this is? But is there anything that y'all have in mind in terms of incentives to retain teachers and make them super happy and stay in the field forever and stay in Durham PreK forever? Can you promise that right now? On record?
Yeah, we want minimal turnover, that's for sure. Within the apprenticeship projects across the state, there are some specific incentive opportunities, and you have to have one piece of apprenticeship models in the state registered apprenticeship programs is to have a wage progression and to have a salary model that demonstrates a tiered impact as the person moves through the apprenticeship. And that's one critical piece. But you'll recall the last couple of years, you have voted to provide salary bonuses for our teachers and our instructional assistants in Durham PreK. We know that there's no one thing that's going to work. The biggest thing we hear about is that the respect and the work culture, the work environment is the most important thing for retention. Of course, salary compensation is obviously a huge, big deal, but the respect and the professional environment and the work culture, the support on a daily basis for teachers is really most impactful in retaining them. And I think that's why we want to be so careful as we build this project out, that we are really paying attention to what people have found works and trying to prioritize those components. There's a bunch of comments in the chat, which is awesome. Does anybody want to come off mute and share?
I would
share.
Portion of incentive, but in the way that as a provider, we talk about incentivizing teachers, and that's wonderful. We talk about paying them a compensation that allows them to feed their families. But what we don't talk about, as somebody who's been in operations for a very long time and who's currently now a provider, we don't talk about how we sustain it. Like, we actually hire you for 40 and you work 40, because it's great to get a salary that is acceptable. But what also happens in a lot of centers is that we make our labor a goal, a moving component on our P&L, versus it being a finite number that you will pay your teachers. And we move children around and we do all the things to reduce labor. So I might have hired you at $20 an hour, but because 3 people didn't come and I can move this person here, you're going home. And then that teacher cannot provide for its family. So when we start these initiatives to have our teachers go into spaces and watch how things are done. They're met with people who love what they do, but can't feed their families. So that energy is, I think, blocking teachers from wanting to be a part of early childhood again. And so the model that I've adopted is that my labor cost is a fixed cost. And until we get providers to understand that you can't draw people over, promise them a great salary, and then not promise the hours, because it doesn't equivalate to what they're going to need ongoingly to support their families. So that's just a passion point for me and something that I wanted to share.
Thank you for sharing that. And I will say that that is a huge issue across the early childhood landscape, in particular in the for-profit centers. In Durham Pre-K, we have some contractual restrictions around those issues. And this is why earlier when you met Joy's team, you may have wondered to yourself, wow, she mentioned the monitoring and the looking at pay and that kind of thing. We do invest quite a bit of time in working with the providers to assure that they are meeting their contractual obligations and not employing some of those practices that are common in the field. Obviously, we would love to see those practices change across the board, but within what we can impact right now, the Durham Pre-K classrooms, we are working hard to try to assure that the teachers and the instructional assistants are being compensated appropriately within our guidelines. For example, we are constantly working with programs. There are some programs that struggle with our requirement for planning time. You know, those of you in this meeting may think to yourself, well, planning time's a no-brainer. But on the ground in the programs, the reality is on a day-to-day basis that sometimes planning time is the first thing that's identified as a flexible thing because of the immediate needs in a center, in a program. And we work closely with our centers to assure that they are honoring and holding sacred that commitment to shared planning time between the teacher and the instructional assistant in the Durham Pre-K classroom. That's just one example, but yes, Kate, your insights around how programs compensate teachers is one of the things that we'll really appreciate about what you bring to this group. And thanks for making that comment. Anybody else? I saw that June mentioned she had a question about what level of education will apprentices need to have. So within traditional apprenticeship programs, there are what they call pre-apprentices, and then there are apprentices. Pre-apprentices are typically those who don't have a high school diploma yet. We're not focusing right now on pre-apprentices because that is another sector we would like to, in the long run, focus on. But we believe there needs to be an even greater level of support for those who have not earned their high school diploma yet. So we're focusing on those who are, with this project, with these resources that we have, we're focusing on those who are working to earn their 2-year degree. They don't have to, obviously they don't need to already have that. They're working toward it. And the goal is to achieve, our long-term goal is for them to earn their degree, to further their education and earn their degree. But we want to meet them where they are, and we will work with them to be sure they have everything they need to be credentialed to be employed. I don't know if that answered your question, June, and I'd love to talk with you more as one of our Durham Pre-K sites as we move, more deeply into this project.
Yeah, so I think it's great that you're doing this. I guess what I'm hearing on the ground is that the younger people coming into the field are really only interested in getting like EDU 119, and they're not really interested in doing any more than that. And I don't know what's driving that, but I've talked to at least 2 future candidates for a job who basically said, well, I've got EDU 119, I'm a lead teacher, and that's all I'm going to do. without really seeming to understand there's a lot more to it than that. So, I mean, the more we can promote the fact that we need to have, I believe in lifelong education, you know, so just saying I'm going to take this one class and I know all about this job. And I don't know how to encourage people to think differently. I wish I did, because I mean the number one problem that all the providers are having is finding qualified staff. There's just doesn't seem to be anybody out there, and I don't know what else we can do. You know, we've raised our wages, we're offering better benefits, we're trying to do all these incentive type things, and it still doesn't seem to encourage people to come into the field. And I wish it did. I'm sorry, the kids are coming in. Yeah, so I mean, I think what you're doing is great, and I think more and more of these kinds of programs is what we need to be doing.
I mean, obviously no one thing is going to work, but what you just shared we hear that continually also. You know, I think the workforce crisis is deep and wide at this point, and early education is as a whole field is wrestling with this to almost every meeting that we go to.
Linda, I just wanted to know that I've heard anecdotally that student loans is also a barrier, especially with wages. So like folks are hesitant to continue their education because they would have to take out loans, and with the wages that they would potentially get, it just doesn't balance out. And so that layered with the federal student loan forgiveness program, like childcare isn't exactly included in those public serving positions. So that's another can of worms of advocacy that that could be opened up to help further the profession and make it more enticing for folks, is getting those opportunities to get some sort of relief.
Yes. One of the things at one of the apprenticeship presentations I went to this week, they were talking about something that sounds simple, but is actually a huge barrier for some of our potential students. And that is, they may have a previous bill, like it could be, $100 that they owed to the school, and they can't re-enroll until they clear some of those previous bills. And one of the apprenticeship programs that we learned about this week, because they are privately funded for this initiative, they're able to work individually with some folks with some restrictions, but they're able to clear some old bills for some people so that they can start over with that clean slate and re-enroll. And that was very enlightening to me to hear about that component of their apprenticeship project.
Hey, Linda, it's Christy. I would just add to that as well. Right now, providers can utilize their stabilization grants to help, teachers to pay back old debts and things of that nature. It's a great investment that they could use to do that, and that will continue, especially the compensation side, which that could be seen as a benefit to teachers. So it is something that could be done. And then also, as we're thinking, I completely, having a background in higher ed, understand the situations that students get into with student loans and things of that nature. But the nice thing is that there are, like you had already mentioned, our teach scholarships, which are not any type of thing that needs to be paid back. And also with the community colleges right now and the work that they're doing at the state level, they're creating multiple types of alternative accessible pathways that will make it so it is not like traditional classes. And there's some new opportunities that'll be on the horizon. So I think we need to consider all of those as we're thinking about this as well.
Thank you, Christy. Yeah, I mean, obviously in this space, there's all kinds of opportunity and a great amount of learning that we will need to do to best support folks.
And I'll just flag one last thing, that, recently, it was the last week, I think the proposal went out. The feds, the ACF had a competition for workforce center. And so we know that it's going to be a major investment, I think at least $30 million over 5 years. And they're really going to be doing some really both innovative sort of research, but also technical assistance. So I'm wondering, so both in learning what's happening in state around this model, but also nationally, but knowing that maybe more models would be coming out from this workforce center that could be helpful, and vice versa. The work that you learn could also help the workforce center as well. So I think there's a lot of really exciting opportunities, but being able to learn while we continue to support economically and et cetera, the workforce, I think is going to be critical. So
Yeah, I mean, moving forward, one of our big concerns is that if we're going to do this, we want to do it right. And I think that one of the lessons we've already learned is the fact that the programs we've examined that are reporting the most success have an extremely they have quite a bit of team members who are supporting the work. So they have very low caseloads, and the amount of students they support is very low per person. And because it's designed to be intensive, and I think that's where sometimes with these types of programs, you're not able, if you're not staffed appropriately, you're not able to give that deep, intensive support. And we're going to need to be mindful of that as we tailor this work to Durham PreK's needs. So thanks. Well, we're a few minutes late, but that's fine. We're due to take a quick 5-minute break. And after the break, we are going to go into some breakout discussions, and we'll go over that. But unless there's an objection, we will take a 5-minute break. Y'all ready for one? So we
yes.
meet back at 10:51.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks. Okay, we're going to try to reconvene. Okay, Tasha, if you'll move the slide to forward. So I know a couple people had to leave, Yama, but we still have a great group, and we really invested in trying to get your feedback.
Great. And I was just gonna flag Kate. I know she has some technical difficulty. She'll try to come back, she says, but just knowing that, just a flag for her.
Okay. And I know Brittany had to go to another meeting, and Michelle has to too.
And I'll need to leave you in like 5 minutes. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and
Lee would take over.
Yama has to leave us, and Lee has graciously offered to close us out. So we really appreciate that, and we appreciate everybody's time. We're going to just randomly break you into groups. We're going to do, there's 19 folks left. So I think we'll still do the 3 groups because we want you to have a chance to really talk. So we'll do 3 groups, and we have two issues that we really want to get your feedback about. And Katie is putting in the chat a link to, and Monty's also putting in a chat. So what will happen is we'll break out into discussion groups, and there will be a Jamboard for you to record your discussion. And the Jamboard is set up dividing into group 1, 2, and 3, and you have 2 different sheets for 2 different questions. If you have a great conversation and you don't get to the second question, that's fine. The first question is the one that we absolutely really want your feedback now about, and that is about our upcoming community convening. So many of you may be aware that we were asked by the county this year to convene in 2023, to convene a meeting that would be open to the community, to parents, families, and all of our constituencies, to report back, to be accountable about how Durham PreK is doing toward its goal that was established by the Community Early Education Preschool Task Force back in 2018. The goal was by 2023 to be serving at least 75, to have seats available to be serving at least 75% of our 4-year-old census in Durham by 2023. We were on a growth trajectory that would meet that goal until the pandemic hit, and we're not going to be at 75% by 2023, but we are able to be accountable for the growth we have experienced and the significant gains in collaboration, quality, and accessibility to the programs. But many of you may have attended back in 2018 a community convening that was held at the Health and Human Service Building on Main Street. And that event had an opportunity for roundtable discussions that were facilitated by volunteers to get feedback from the public about priorities for a potential public pre-K program, and also priorities around other early education issues. So we are charged with hosting an event in 2023. And what we're going to ask you to do in your discussion groups is to talk about that and what you see as governance members as your priorities. So the Jamboard that's in the chat, if you will, before we break into groups, if you'll select that Jamboard on your computer, you'll be able to put your feedback in Post-it notes and have a discussion around that. If you have time, the second discussion item was around our business toolkit that Monty briefly described earlier. In the chat, there is a link to just a short flyer that is a draft that contains information about the outreach committee's initial thinking about the business toolkit. And you can use that as a reference point, that flyer. But basically what we're interested in is your feedback around whether or not the business school toolkit should be designed to use as a tool for awareness of Durham Pre-K, or if we are also really going to look at it as a way to jumpstart our fundraising initiatives. So there are 2 questions, and there are 2 different Jamboard forms for each group. So when you go into the Jamboard, you'll see multiples. And we're going to break you into small groups. Anybody have any questions before you go into your small group? Everybody's Jamboard pros at this point in the Zoom world. Okay, so and for a couple of the you that have to hop off, we will make sure you're informed about what the group discussion came up with. So Katie or Monty, I'm not sure who's setting up the groups, but if we can go ahead and break folks into groups, that would be great.
I can do that. Would you like for me, you, and Monty to stay in the lobby, or do you 2 want to go?
I would love to go to enjoy a conversation, and maybe Katie, if you could be the host and stay out, that would be great. Thank you.
Sounds good. Okay, I'm creating 3 of them right now.
Thank you.
You should get an invite momentarily.
We really value and appreciate your feedback. Well, I don't know about y'all, but we had a great discussion in our group. So, Lee, I think we're running a little late, but we want to hear from folks.
Yeah. So you guys, we'd love to hear some sharing from other groups, or we could start. Okay, we'll start. Sharon will give us some updates from our Jamboard notes.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharon.
We talked a lot about really grounding the conversation, both in hearing from parents, getting parent feedback, and then and celebrating what we've accomplished. We talked about needing, because the audience will largely be parents as well as providers, that we needed to probably ground some at the beginning in why this work is so important, why the early years, why pre-K, why it's important for parents to stay connected to it. And we also talked about spending time to celebrate. And then in a little bit more detail, we talked about needing some resources, infographics, multimedia, and making it an interactive process, not one where folks are talking at us the whole time, but that we have table conversations, maybe a data walk, gallery walk, something like that to keep folks engaged. So those were the big themes from what we talked about.
Thank you. All right, who's next? Don't be shy. I'll come find you. Y'all, Katie, who were in the give us a we were group number 1, I think, or number 2.
I don't know which one we were, but
we were group 2. We were group 2.
Don't be shy. We're gonna love what you say. It's gonna be brilliant.
I was in group 1, and
Thank you.
We talked a little bit about some of the same things that Sharon just mentioned. We also talked about telling the story of Durham Pre-K, you know, where we started, where we're at, challenges and We also talked about providing childcare, which we had talked about internally in a small group meeting recently, and sort of the logistics of that, and requiring pre-registration so that we can, collect some information up front and have a waiver signed. But also, Derek had mentioned through the pre-registration process, maybe that would be a good opportunity to ask community members what they want to hear, instead of, us as the professionals, just sharing what we think people want to hear, asking them directly, what types of things they want to hear about. Yeah, and food. Yeah, and also talked about having, parents and providers there, and getting their voices heard, and having the small group discussion. So a lot of similar pieces.
Good. That affirmation is important too, to know we're on the right track. Who can help us with the last group?
I can share from the last group. We talked about some of the same things that the first two groups talked about. We talked about like hearing the voices of parents and providers engaged in the program. We talked about the importance of like helping people have something to leave with as a way they can tangibly engage or support the program. We get a lot of feedback about it, and there's a way we can help people know how they can put that energy to work for Durham PreK. Helping people understand more about some of the challenges and hearing from them about some of those challenges. More data specifically about maybe demographics or kind of where our sites are, some of the benefits around teacher compensation, like what the impact that's had on the system. We also just talked about hearing from families about how they would want to see the program grow to address current needs. That's
great, y'all. Well, obviously y'all have been to a meeting or two, a conference or two. This group knows what works. And I feel really confident that we'll put on a great community unifying event.
And if anybody from governance would like to be on the planning committee, if you'll just shoot us an email, you're more than welcome. We would love to have you. We will keep you informed, obviously, about what's happening in the planning and ways that you can engage. But if you actually would like to take a deep dive and be on the planning committee, please let us know. We're actively recruiting folks to help with that. Before we close out, though, Lee, I was wondering, did anybody have a chance to get to talking about the business toolkit at all? Our group did not.
Oh, yeah,
that's why
sorry.
I asked.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. Our group did not. And we said that we would make some opportunities for future discussion. But did any of the other groups have a chance?
Go ahead, Imani, sorry.
Oh, no, you can go ahead.
We got to it for approximately 3 minutes, and sort of talked about like, how do we think about those big checks that we feel like we should already be getting from some partners or institutions in our community. We talked about like, how do we build in more tangible opportunities for representatives from those institutions or larger entities to plug into Durham PreK that could then be converted into donations or investments down the line. That's about as far as we got.
We also only had a couple minutes, but we did have support for integrating some fundraising opportunities along with this. And there was a suggestion to look at kind of expanding the explanation that we have in the beginning as to, why they should be supporting Durham PreK, and just like really the impact that we know early education has on the community.
That's great feedback. And I know that this particular topic and the fundraising piece in general is something that we will need to invest a lot more time. But thanks for that initial feedback.
Linda, this is Christy.
Uh-huh.
One other comment that I would just make about that, we probably need to look, there's this whole branding of early childhood through this Raise and See campaign from the state level, and there is already talking points that bridges over the economic impact and why it's important to invest, and that's the whole message. So it might be good to link to that as well, because a lot of the work is already done and the information of the sharing of what we need to be sharing out as a state, and as early childhood system in general, to get that business support. So just another thought.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to take advantage of the investment, the large investment that's being made in those marketing materials, and we want to, leverage those to help us make our investments, use our money differently, and take advantage of what's available to us for sure. Just to address your question in the chat about Duke and Duke Community Affairs, for their engagement on governance, they have been invited several times, but they were undergoing a massive, what they shared with us was they were undergoing a massive re-examination after Dr. Fail Wynn's retirement, and then subsequently he did pass away. But after his retirement, they engaged in a multi-year re-examination of their engagement with the Durham community. And they did indicate to us several times over the last few years that they would potentially be interested in serving in the future. We do have different components of Duke engaged on governance the last few years, but not from that particular office. But it is a key support office for this community, and we want to be sure that they have an opportunity to be involved in governance. I will say, right before the pandemic, in fact, in February, before the world shut down in March, Wendy Jacobs, as at that time she was the county commission chair, and Drew Cummings at that time, who was the chief of staff, Marcia Basler, who's the president of CCSA at that time, and I met with Stephanie, who's the Duke Community Affairs Engagement, or her title is different now, but she is quite a prominent leader at Duke. And we met with her in February before the world shut down, and we had begun planning a tour event for constituents from Duke, where we were going to have an overview event with them, and then a bus tour around to Durham PreK events. And that was scheduled and planned for April, and the world shut down in March. And so we have committed to trying to do that again, but to trying to re-engage around that, to really make sure that they're deeply aware of the impact of Durham PreK and what's really happening across the community. So any of you who have close ties to them, will be working with you to make sure we get in front of them. They do have early childhood as a priority. They recently had, this past week, they had a social event in the community to present their new priorities. I had a chance to go to that event, and it appears that they've done quite a bit of work to examine their investments in Durham, and I'm anxious to hear what they're going to actually, how they're going to convert that commitment into action in the future. Well, we're a little over time. Sorry, Lee.
That's okay. I don't want people to not be aware, though, of the white paper on wrap care. I have not read the whole thing, but I have read part of it and gone through all of it, and it's just so impressive. And kudos to you and your team, Linda. Y'all just pull together such clear, helpful, targeted information always, every single time. And this is another example of that. So I encourage people to take a look at it. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about it.
I just was going to mention to you guys that as with the equity plan that the quality subcommittee spent a year developing, this work is being integrated across all of our systems, and we know we're not going to fix the need for wraparound care to support our families. We're not going to fix it in a short period of time. It's a big of an issue, and it's an issue really across the state. So this document is a starting place and certainly not the end. You've gotten it directly. It's also on the website, and if anybody has any questions about it, you know, we love to talk, so feel free to reach out.
Yeah. So I think we can have a call for any final announcements. Is there anything that needs to be shared? We have our future meeting dates ahead of us, January the 19th, March 16th, and May 18th in the year of 2023. We are leaping into the future here. As always, those will be at 9:30. We'll stay tuned for thoughts, invitations to think about coming back in person, but we know the January meeting will be on Zoom. Ioma wanted me to share her best wishes for everyone having a wonderful holiday. I want to piggyback on that and send it all the way around this Zoom. I know everybody has earned really nice family time and relaxing time and taking a break time. Is there anything else to share before we disband? All right. Well, I really want to thank everyone for attending. I want to welcome our new leader. I want to welcome our new members. I want to thank the staff that's always here, and Katie for making everything move so smoothly online. I've been in a couple of meetings lately where we had great breakout rooms and they were just disasters. So thanks everybody. And I'll look forward to seeing you around town.